Hi, welcome to this Open Security Summit in February 2023. This is the first session, and we open with a banger. We have Marcin, who's going to talk us about how he built security automation software using open source components in DataScan. So, Marcin, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Thank you for having me here. My name is Marcin. I'm remoting in from Berlin, Germany, and I would like to present you, as Dennis said, how we built a security automation software utilizing open source components, which ended up to be a BetterScan project. So as you know, organizations are continuing to being breached due to human errors or lack of continuous security. We hear all the time about exposed S3 buckets, EBS volumes, Elasticage, Elasticsearch, databases misconfigured in the cloud, bugs in the code or secrets exposed in the code. Actually, I read the recent report from Gartner that almost 80% with trend up is cause of the breaches are misconfigurations. So those problems very often occur due to lack of basic automation and continuous checks for this stuff. So the problems I see as a few problems here. The first problem, you need a real security. You need to ensure in a continuous and consistent way that you check for most common bugs, errors, misconfigurations. If you don't, you will probably get breached. And I say real security because the other problem is compliance. As you can imagine, actually most of I can imagine several or few organizations that were hacked or breached, like SolarWinds. They all were compliant, but still the real security was not there, and they were breached. So you have two topics, two problems to solve. One is the real security, other is compliance. There are obviously several regulations that it requires you to follow industry best practices like GDPR, CCPA, SOX, PCI DSS, and soon there's a regulation for IoT vendors and embedded vendors in US and also in Europe. It's called Cyber Resiliency Act, as I recall. So we need to make sure that you produce secure software on all levels. So real security and compliance, you need both to do business. And then you also need to find a solution for code and cloud. Most likely you have a solutions for separate for both. You need to integrate them, write the pipelining to combine all together. And most likely you end up in a proprietary closed source solutions. You have to trust, you don't know how it works. You cannot change anything because you bought it from the vendor. So this puts you in not the optimal situation. Then you think about, okay, what about secrets and also binaries? So you need to find a solution for secret detection and scanning. Then you end up with having multiple vendors and a high cost of you have to trust solution. Since you delegate this risk to your vendor, your supply chain risk also increases, since the vendor can be breached, exposing and breaching you at the same time. It's happening more and more. You hear about this prominent breaches to CI/CD vendors, to code hosting vendors, or all those big companies. So if you think about it, if you control it, then at least you are yourself to blame. Your scope is typically, and exposure is typically smaller. Since those big corps, they have so many assets, their attack surface is so big. So there's a risk that your small footprint, your trust IT, if they're skilled and qualified, you can trust them. And if you trust them, you can be in a better shape than outsourcing it to the third party. not it's a case by case, but I think it's also something to think about. Then you think, okay, but I have CI/CD, continuous integrations, continuous delivery. Most likely you have a pipeline. Most likely you wrote your pipeline. You put the tools together, and but yeah, you have many tools. But will you have unification and findings, or will you have like I don't know, a dozen of reports, or I don't know, 10 or 8 reports or 12 reports with different formats, different layouts? Will you have issue management? Can you like dismiss false positives from reappearing, or would always come in those 12 reports? Will you have to wait for CI/CD pipeline to check the whole code, or maybe hours or I don't know, days each time? We're talking about huge code bases with billions of code, or even more. Will you have differential analysis and snapshot analysis? So the potential solution to all of this is to not to reinvent the solution, the wheel, to tap into open source knowledge and tools. We can use open source, cost-efficient, flexible solution to scan code in cloud and secrets and binaries. You can self-host it. You can run it on a device with web interface, with command line, with reports in standard formats like HTML, JSON, Serif. You can integrate it with GitHub, GitLab, Azure DevOps Server, anything that talks Serif, and also be as a GitHub action or even an app. So there's no need for you to extend your supply chain risk. You can connect to anything. There's no need to connect to anything. You can just use this plug out solution. This word is a little bit, I know it's a funny word, but it's kind of invented by me. It means that the solution that we want to use doesn't have to connect, doesn't have to allow the vendor to connect to our infrastructure. It just you can run it totally separate, even when needed, even without the internet on private code, like air-gapped systems. Because many solutions, you need to require like you need to get a token, and with this token, the vendor actually can get the access to the assets. So this is the diagram of the better scan solution. As you can see, it's using many scanners on the left. You can plug practically any scanner in any technology, as long as it outputs JSON and you teach the scanner to understand it, it can be used. Now there's almost, I think, 15 scanners. They all communicate to the better scan platform via command line or a web platform, which can be run locally on a computer end device, on-prem server, cloud, as a GitHub action, GitLab action, or GitHub app. Many possibilities. And better scan also takes care of the scan state, meaning that if you have like a several billions line code base, and you change only a small fraction of it, I don't know, few files or dozen of files, it will only check those files plus the linked ones that linked to it, and then produce one report which you can export to HTML, JSON, Serif, or a third-party interface. Like GitHub has this code scanning tab, or GitLab has this advanced security tab. Azure DevOps servers, you can also export it there to see it in the Windows, or in a browser. So the better scan value proposition.
Just a quick one just to confirm. So that whole thing is open source, right? So the betterscan.community edition, it's like I said, it's open source, so anybody can pick it up. The teams can run with it, right, and implement it. Yes.
To answer your question, it is open. There's a community edition which is open source. There's the licensing is the LGPL license with a commons clause. It means that you can use it commercially for a company you work for, as long as you're not like selling it to make profit or make money anyway. Then you have to get a license from me. Cool. Since I think it's it's similar like a SEMGRAP. I don't know if it is. This actually the tool we also use has similar license. It's a little bit to prevent the big corps or like or to little bit. I think it's fair to make it like this.
Yeah, but that means that, companies can use it internally, right? So we can use it internally, connect the dots.
Exactly. As long as, but at the moment you like sell a service or build a service around it, a SaaS, or sell it to other companies, then we need to talk. We need to talk because it's valid as a license. But other usage is totally permitted, like also commercial use for your own. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So the value proposition is also it's one line to add several thousand checks. It's open source, it's flexible, scans code cloud, also binaries, secrets binaries. You can run yourself, you can modify it along if you comply with the license. You have full transparency and control. You can see what's running. It's very scalable and modular architecture. It's also written in Python. It's very popular and easy. So hopefully nobody will have to pull their hair looking at the code. So that's the screenshot. That's the main screenshot of the web interface. As you can see the projects, and then you can see the findings. If you click on the finding, it will show the file. Then if you click on, it will show the file in line. You can also open the file that will show the finding. Obviously, since it has like several thousand of issues, it's a lot of manual work to categorize all the issues. So now we focus most of them. We focus like the security issues, and they're tagged as such. The help is also welcome. Help is welcome to help to categorize the issues on severity. This is something on a to-do list that can be improved. That's how it looks on a command line. Similar. We actually, as you can see, if you work with this with code scanning, you can see that Bandit or Brakeman or GoSec or Go Static Check or SemGrep, they're all great products. They're actually the full-fledged solutions, but we were a little bit we followed in a way that we use all those great solutions, pipelining them, and we use them as plugins. So the better scan, you can tap to the greatest and state-of-the-art tools and use them as plugins, and you will get unified report, deduplicated, and with different formats outputs, however you wish. There's a HTML output, HTML report, some similar like other command line. There's and here's what I mentioned is the GitHub integration with code scanning tab. If you use the GitHub Enterprise and you have advanced security, you can use it for private repositories. Since it's public, in public access it's free, but for private you need to get this enterprise license. If you have it, then you can do it. And here's also the latest, one of the latest additions was that you can also install the Visual Studio Code plugin, and then instead of running the command, you can just run the plugin, the extension, Control P, and then better scan, and it will create the Sarif, which you can view in a Visual Studio Code. We can view in there, and it will bring you to the file. If you click on the issue, you will land on the file in a line and file. So it's also could be handy. And also there's a better scan code application in GitHub. GitHub introduced these applications that you can install it in your organization or repo. It will ask you, okay, which repository, which organization, which permissions, install, boom, ready. You can scan your code. It is now in a free mode, since you have to have at least 100 installations to be reviewed for the marketplace. So now it's just a demo to see it's possible. And if you want to try it, possibly the easiest way, other than if you have a good connection, you can use a Docker. It's also very easy. It's also on Backstage. Backstage is a portal. It's a developer portal from Spotify. You can also integrate. It's used by many organizations that want to unify the development. You can also get the plugin for better scan, and you can see in the Backstage you will see the security posture of your repositories. So the benefits. It was secure. It was developed with security in mind. We did our best to make it secure. It's all callable via REST API. Everything can be called. So that makes it very easy to integrate with CI/CD systems. If you work in regulated environments, you can make a call. If there's like a high severity finding, boom, break the build. if there's, X amount of findings, break the build. It's all possible. It's also lighter and fast, secure. There's no need to connect anything. It's a plug-up solution. You own your security. You are in control. So it supports many programming languages, and also like a PHP, Java, Scala, Python, Perl, Ruby, .NET framework, C#, also C++, Swift, Kotlin, Apex. Apex is a language for Java-like language for Salesforce. JavaScript, TypeScript, Go. Also some DeFi is there, some DeFi support. The reason actually it is to support all the major technologies, like for cloud native setups. Also companies like small to medium companies, they typically have like a backend. Then they have also like some front end, and also like in JavaScript or TypeScript. Also, if they have a mobile app, maybe they do some Salesforce. So this would cover them all. It will cover them all. And also they have some infrastructure running, maybe Kubernetes or possibly the Docker images everywhere, and maybe some maybe Azure, maybe Amazon Web Services. It will scan all those infrastructures as a code for best practices, for exposed secrets, for misconfigurations, and also Better Scan is now doing secret scanning for 166 secret types. I have combined all the secrets regexes I found, including Git leaks and Trufflehog. So now it's actually, as far as I know, it has the most patterns for the secret on the market. And also we also use Yara rules for binary scanning. You want to make sure also that there's no malware or like a CVE or exploit or a web shell in your code. And that's why we do Yara scanning, binary scanning, that you can, all the files will be at the same time scanned for the match, for the binary and text rules, to ensure there's no, as I said, to ensure there's no malware, web shells, and all this stuff. And you can also add, as I said, all the possibly new checkers, new analyzers to the tool. So currently the open source tool use are ProcPilot for PHP, PMD for Java, Bandit for Python, Brakeman Ruby, GoSec, also Go Static Check. It actually now has the best coverage for Go. It's using both GoSec and Go Static Check. They both state-of-the-art tools. Then Confuse for dependency confusion, SemGrep, Trufflehog, JSHint, NGS Scan, Log4Shell checker via custom SemGrep rule. It's important to notice that we don't use SemGrep rules that are SemGrep's own, because they are under the license that what I mentioned, that you need to buy the license from them. We only use our own rules, or the rules that were that the licensing allowed it. So, but the SemGrep engine is open source, so it's used. Then we also use Chekhov, Kubescape for Kubernetes, GR update for Perl, InsiderSec for .NET, and also the Kotlin and Swift. FlowFinder, as I recall, it was for C, or no, it was Java. FindSec Bugs for C, ESLint, Yara. There are many tools there. You can see all in the code. So you have also many features. You have issue management. You can, in the web interface, you can review a finding. You can make it as a false positive, or you can just ignore it. It will not come again, because this happens to me also in Dependabot in GitHub. I mark a dependency as dismiss. Next time in the past, maybe they fixed it now, the GitHub Dependabot, it will just come again. And also other tools, I know that you dismiss the finding, it will come again. Here is, we try to make it in a way that if you dismiss a finding, it will not come again. We use like a snapshot and also the hash of the location. So we try that it doesn't come again. Also, you can enable, that's a great feature. You can disable each check from each scanner in the settings. So let's say we use 12 scanners which end up in I don't know, 7,000, 6,000 checks. I want to disable some. I go in the settings. I can do it. So if you use like a custom CI/CD with many tools, many reports, you have no control over it. You just have to run the whole thing and stuff. Then we have snapshots, differential scanning, that only the changes are scanned. There's also badges for a project. You can build a dashboard that create like a security posture for your organization, different reports format, and also all callable via REST API. So you would ask yourself, what's the differentiation? So I'm kind of like a person that I believe that the human intellect is the best to find edge cases, unforeseen cases. The user in front of the computer is always the best tester, because you can find all these use cases that could not be think of, and the humans are to find the logical bugs. And also deep bugs. I think nothing beats the human intellect. I know there's chat GPT and stuff, so hopefully we'll see how it develop. But if you see about these bugs, the Google fuzzing cluster or the bug bounty programs, they cover the fuzzing cluster. Google, they fuzz pretty much all the time Chromium or Chrome, but still there are several bugs being found by humans, that edge cases that somehow automation didn't catch. So this is not a solution for the best accuracy and detection, but it's a solution to ensure the baseline, to ensure the continuous security of your code and cloud, shifting it left, and proactively enabling continuous security in CI/CD. So let's cover the basics. Let's cover the basis with thousands of checks. I think now it's like 6,000. And you also not held hostage to your vendor. You can add your checks. So it's ideal for modern organizations that have code, that have cloud setup, cloud native, also mobile app. You can also great for developers and service providers. So with this tool, the goal is to automate security, to catch the low-hanging fruits, to ensure the accountability, and also the standards for security that you can drive. It's all pipelined through proven technology with unification, deduplication, and orchestration. It's based on a project that was written by a PhD, so a doctor of science. He is actually a friend or colleague of mine. It's also using state-of-the-art components as plugins, and you can do all of this with one command. It's literally one command that you can just paste in your command line, and it can get you started. And as you can know, in current times, it's also cost efficient to tap into this knowledge of open source, and also we try to keep it lean and cost efficient, so everybody can benefit from it. So the current usage is MVP was released in February 2022. So far, 350 app stars, around 10,000 downloads, installations, many features and bugs fixed since February. Yeah, it's definitely going up. It's going up, so it's an interesting project. We always look for contributors. You can contribute in any way, opening an issue, or make some code change, make some code chain, or whatever you can. So yeah, I didn't mention in the beginning, but there was a concept to ask questions at the end. So thank you for listening to me and looking at the presentation. And if there's any questions, now is the time to raise your topic, to ask questions via chat, or you can just also take over the call.
I got a couple. If anybody has a question, please put them in the chat. I don't think we have one there, but so you mentioned it. So what's your take on ChatGPT, right? And how you can actually help, with some of these flows and provide a bit of intelligence, especially the next evolution, or especially on the next stages of it.
Yeah, I think actually I know everybody's talking about it. Actually, I looked briefly. There's a project. I wanted to actually to try ChatGPT for code audit. It was
Yeah.
on my to-do list, but I found that a person that did it already. I went in contact with him to say, hey, we can add this ChatGPT module to BetterScan, and but we didn't until then there was I don't get any updates. But this person did like I can imagine behind the scene was the post request to ChatGPT with the prompt, but I would say it's great. It's great. The ChatGPT AI progress, as I see, it's amazing. As I said, I still didn't have no time to look at deeper, but I would say it's a great potential. It's a great potential, and it can I think it definitely help in the area of DevSecOps, and
Yeah.
also BetterScan is ready. I can add. Maybe I will add a ChatGPT module for BetterScan. Then that way you have all the open source knowledge, all the open source tools, plus AI, ChatGPT.
Yeah. Well, the one I also find very impressive these days, and if you use is the Copilot from GitHub. It is the next level, right? I don't know if you used it, but it's amazing, the insights and the learning and the quality of the recommendations is actually pretty insane.
Yes, I heard mixed opinions. I actually I didn't buy you need a subscription, or you can also apply for like some program like an open source developer. I heard like I say it's awesome, and I think it's awesome. But also some edge cases where that it can also show you a snippet that's not necessarily the most secure. But yeah, it could be edge case. It could be edge case.
Yeah, of course that there's always going to be variations of it. But I think what's interesting is when we can start to teach it, right? When we can start to influence it, when you can start to apply a bit more knowledge, right? And I think especially for example, as you bring a lot of the data together, I think there's space for applying a bit of a rationalization. So then almost like we can focus better on things that we can make a big difference, right?
That's totally correct. I think it's great to take this effort or those tasks that that can be automated, but now it's yeah, they'll definitely, I think it's going in interesting direction. We live in interesting times. It just happened out of nowhere, 2023, ChatGPT, and now we hear about Google trying to make a counter offer and build something similar. And I think it's totally interesting. I think it will change the world. Yeah, I think it changed the world.
Because I think the difference is not one or the other. It's about the people who use it versus the people who don't use it. It's the tools that use it versus the people who don't use it, right? Or use that kind of, this for the first time, it feels like AI, right? It feels like a very distant machine learning, right? It feels that, I'm able to ask questions to ChatGPT that has a huge amount of context, right? And it saves me so much time, right? It's incredible. Like, it's, if you think about it, even from a guidance point of view, I could totally see as an evolution of, even, if we can start to influence it a little bit, imagine an internal service provided to developers, right? Where you can start to guide the questions, guide the answers, and then the answers can be given in context to the code, right? Which is something that we always struggle to do, right? Or even like these findings, imagine starting to connect these findings and then, connecting all the way to the source code, connecting all the way to the place where it's there, right? So I think there's great amount of cool information. Cool. Well, I don't think we have any further questions. So look, man, thanks a lot. And I hope I see you in some of the sessions, and let's do some panels next time. Maybe get some users, right? And collaborate and basically, figure out how to get more people using it. I definitely would love my team to be using some of these. So it's really cool.
That would be great. Yeah, take it for a spin. If you need any help, feel free to contact me directly or via GitHub issue. At the end, there's a website, there's a live demo. You can see some sample scan projects.
Yep.
The GitHub and also my email. So yeah, would be great. I'll definitely stop by to some panels. So thank you for having me.
Brilliant. Good stuff.